Hello students, welcome to yet another video of this series where you learn answer writing. Answer writing is specifically related to Indian polity. What do you learn in this series are the difference between these words. Now these words are very important words which are asked in the UPSC examination in different questions. If you see the previous year questions of UPSC, you will realize that they repeatedly write evaluate, analyze, elucidate and other words either as directives or as tail words. Directives when these words are written at the beginning of the question and tail words when these words are written at the last of the question. A finer understanding of the difference between these words are very important to write finer answers and to get more marks. What you have to do is to pay attention and do what I am telling you to do in this series, to understand the difference and write the answers accordingly. Now, in each video we pick up one word and try to understand the meaning behind it and try to understand how to write better answers using those words. We have already taken discuss in the previous video. We have already taken comment and elucidate in the previous videos. Now what we have to do is to understand the meaning of illustrate. You must have seen the word illustrate so many times in the question paper of UPSC. So today's word is illustrate. Now, as I've told you, tail word means if the word is written at the last of the question, and directive means if that word is written at the beginning of the question. What do you understand by the word illustrate? It simply means that whatever is asked in the question, an opinion, an argument, a problem, whatever is asked in the question, you need to simplify and clarify that using a figure, a picture, a diagram, or a concrete example. Whatever is there in the question, if you have to simplify that, if you have to clarify that, if you have to explain that, that explanation, that clarification must come with an example, which must be a concrete example, or with a diagram, with a picture, or with a figure. If you do this in the question where they ask to illustrate the problem, you are going to get better marks. You are not going to write same kind of answers in every question. That is the remedy to get average marks. But you don't want average marks. What you really want are better than average marks. You want to be in the league where you get top marks in the GS papers, and the remedy to get that is through understanding of these words, a deeper understanding of these words. So illustrate, wherever the UPSC asks in the question to illustrate a problem, you are going to simplify that, explain that or clarify that using a figure, a picture, a diagram or a concrete example. Now, there is a previous year question which you must look into. It was a question which was asked in 2023 by UPSC in paper number 2. Look at this question. The Constitution of India is a living instrument with capabilities of enormous dynamism. It is a constitution made for progressive society. Okay, so there is dynamism. You know, it's flexible, it changes with time, it's a living document, and it is made for the progressive society, isn't it? You look at the fundamental rights, there is the element of liberty, equality and fraternity, social justice through the directive principles of state policy. There is a preamble which catches the mind of the maker of the constitution, which wanted, these makers wanted the Indian constitution to be a dynamic constitution which is for the progressive society, a living document. Now, there is the word illustrate with a special reference to the expanding horizons of right to life and personal liberty. Now, if you have to write about the improving horizon, increasing horizon of right to life and personal liberty, what you must do is to make a figure, make a picture, make a diagram or give concrete example. If you do any one of these four things, it is perfect, you know, and if you write this in a very perfect manner, you are going to get marks. Figure, picture, diagram or concrete example. Now, you cannot draw a picture here, isn't it? Neither you can make a figure here. What kind of figure are you going to make? This is not a question of geography. If it is a question of geography or maybe environment, there is a possibility that you can make a diagram, you can create a picture or a figure. But this is a question of Indian polity. So a concrete example is going to help you to write a better answer. How to write this concrete example here? First, you must explain how the Indian Constitution is dynamic and how it is made for progressive society, because there is preamble, the fundamental rights, the directive principles, and all these in one or the other way are trying to establish liberty, equality, fraternity and social justice in the society. And the horizon of all these things are changing with changing society, with the changing thinking, with the changing ethical and moral standards of the society. Okay. Now, specifically speaking about Article 21 of the Constitution, right to life and personal liberty, if you see, the life does not mean animal life, does not mean animal existence. You know, it means human existence, and for human existence you require several qualities, you know, several essential basic minimum facilities. And that is the reason why the horizon has been improving or increasing or widening, isn't it? So if you see Article 21 of the Constitution, right to life and personal liberty, right to privacy, this comes under the ambit of Article 21. Bodily integrity of women, isn't it? Right against climate change, right to have better sleep, clean environment, right to have livelihood. There are many things which are covered under the definition of right to life and personal liberty, and all these things have been done thanks to the judiciary and the Supreme Court, which has expanded the interpretation of Article 21, right to life and personal liberty. So we do have this dynamism, and at the same time there is this power of judicial review in the hands of judiciary, which checks the constitutionality of the laws passed by the legislature, and it also interprets the Constitution, and hence it has interpreted the Constitution, Article 21 specifically, to include all these angles into life and personal liberty. So these are the concrete examples which you are giving to prove your point. So when the UPSC asks you to illustrate a particular answer, what you need to do is to make a figure, a picture, a diagram or concrete example to simplify the problem. याद रखिएगा, to simplify the problem which is asked. Several people make the diagram or make a figure and they complicate the whole situation. You don't have to do that. Do not complicate the situation. Simplify it. आपको simplification करना है question का. वो concrete example के through हो, figure के through हो, diagram के through हो. आपको complicate नहीं कर देना है. और एक और चीज जो कॉपीज में देखने को मिलती है, बच्चे डायग्राम बनाते हैं, उसकी लेबलिंग नहीं करते हैं. डायग्राम्स सेल्फ एक्सप्लेनेटरी नहीं होते हैं, आपको उसकी लेबलिंग करना बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी है. इफ यू आर मेकिंग अ फिगर, इफ यू आर मेकिंग अ फ्लो चार्ट, देन इट मस्ट बी क्लियर. You know, the person, the examiner who is checking the copy must be able to read it properly. If those elements are not there, rather than simplifying it, explaining it or clarifying something, you are going to overcomplicate the matter. So always remember while making a figure, a picture or a diagram that it has to be clear, it has to be to the point, it must be legible, readable, and it must simplify or clarify the whole problem. I hope you have understood the word illustrate. Now there is another example for you, substantiate. We are going to take up substantiate in another video, but just to understand, whenever the question gives this word substantiate either as a directive or as a tail word, what you are going to do? You are going to write example. You are going to fortify your judgment or your answer with examples. You are going to simplify or clarify the whole problem in the question with examples. But in substantiate, you usually write examples. But when it comes to illustrate, you don't only write the examples, but also you can draw diagrams, pictures, or figures. So that's a basic understanding or a difference between these two words. They are very closely related. The word illustrate on one hand and substantiate on the other hand. They have a common element between them to give example. But illustrate is a bit wider, where you have to provide a figure, a picture, or a diagram, or it can be concrete examples. So thank you very much for joining me. I am going to come up with the next video with the next topic. Thank you very much. Have a nice day and Jai Hind.